Hey everyone. Hello. Thank you so much for being here this evening. And special thanks to the team, Annie, Jónína. Thank you so much for being the mentors of this edition of Chasing the Poem.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'm so happy to inform that this week we just released the 4th edition of Chasing the Poem. It's going to be an all-queer mentorship. And starting this event, I'd like to acknowledge that we are gathered in the traditional, ancestral, and stolen territory of the Coast Salish peoples, Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. And I say stolen because if we were convinced by colonial capitalistic economic strategies that it is even possible to claim our own land, then we were scammed by an oppressive strategy that puts body against body, identity against identity, worker against worker, one generation after the other. I invite us all to think that 1899, only 123 years ago, is what we call the closure of the map, the year when the last piece of earth unclaimed was stolen by a state nation. And the system based in aggression, exploitation, and abuse has shaped our history and the history of our families. They also invite us to reflect on what it means to live within colonial capitalistic structures and our relationship with class consciousness, land owning, identity politics, and decolonizing knowledge. If stories are all we are, then decolonizing spaces and ideas can be the zeitgeist of our generation, as it seems to be the spirit that moves our time, our ethical task throughout life, and between each other as we enter, live, build, and change communities. This is why we say Massy Arts is a space by and for over-excluded voices, to recognize that there is a scheme of silences and voids of thought that enables us, the people, to discuss and deeply understand the narratives that have built this place that we colonially and submissively call North America. Tonight, Massy Arts Society meant to welcome our audiences for Chasing the Poem, an evening of poetry reading that will present to the audience poems created in Massy Arts' latest poetry workshop, held in April and taught by an all-Indigenous poet panel, Jónína Kirton, Annie Ross, and Justene Dion-Glowa. I need to say that this project has been made possible by the government of Canada. Not as charity though, but because the least colonial capitalistic state nations can do, especially if they operate the colonial scheme on stolen land, is to support and uplift its people and its cultural manifestation. First, help me welcome poet and Chasing the Poems mentor, Justene Dion-Glowa. We have 2 people reading online, and we're gonna do the online part first. And then I invite all the poets reading tonight to come to the microphone, present yourselves, and read.
Fantastic. Okay, Tanshe, Justine Deshinakashun Otpishmuaknia. Hello, I am Justene Dion-Glowa. I'm Métis, and I was born in Treaty 1 territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and I currently live in Secwepemc, which is the unceded territory of the Kamloops Secwepemc people here in Kamloops, BC, and home of the Two Rivers Métis Society. And I'm just really grateful to be able to participate in this reading outside of Massy. Normally I would absolutely come, but I've been many times over the last little while, and I'm just so grateful to have this opportunity to read virtually. It means the world to me. Being part of Chasing the Poem meant the world to me, and so I'm grateful to be here today. And for all of you willing to tolerate the technical difficulties for us as we read away from Vancouver. So I am the author of Trailer Park Shakes, which you can find at Massy Books or at Brick Books, which is the publisher. And I'm going to read some poems for you today from that book. I'm going to start with some sort of, oh, by the way, happy Pride. Just have to say that, I got to get that out of the way. All right. So I'm going to read some sibling poems today. I'm going to start with a couple poems called Tissue and Blur, and then we'll move on from there. So this is Tissue, followed by Blur. The desire for specialness runs thick in my marrow, a spider egg sac explosion waiting to unload its writhing progeny onto this world. A million ethereal arms reaching out in the darkness to be met by slapping hands and balled up tissue. Greatness is a deep valley where despair also lives. I spit a web of vast proportions, hoping to finally make someone stick. A twitch in your lower eyelid, a constant nagging blur in your reality, barely perceptible to people around you. You feel you must be seen as a palpating monster ready to lunge and spread this infection to anyone who will let you close enough to bite. Okay, thank you. We can snap. You can, I love the snapping. I think that's great. I think it's so fun. All right. I'm going to read one called Cornet, which is crow in Michif, which is a Métis language. Black feathers in the wind wave anarchy, then death. Friends gather and cry out. A tumultuous resting place on a back road center line. I pick that raven up. Its blood runs furrows in the creases of my skin, drips a dotted line to where X marks a final spot. No gravestone. Just a brown paper towel from my glove box to give closure. To a murder of crows weeping at a crime scene, a Congress that bears witness to the killing, while I hope the neighbors don't see. This one's called Chevreau, which is deer in Michif. Your eyes are black, not unlike my own, filled with transcendental dread and knowing all the horrors of this world before the blackness hit. I wonder if your tongue lolled out, but I missed it in my hurried passing. What is it like to see calamity coming? I don't want to die with my eyes open. And I think I have time for one more short one. This one's called Scaffold. It takes a partnership to build it, a sturdy thing made to provide safety, a net, something solid on which to work. But the rungs hurt on the come down, each one a new wound, piercing, bruising, breaking. Your bones creak under the weight of you, just you, and the force you hit the ground with when you've fallen all the way down. And that is my time. So thank you so much for having me here today virtually. I really appreciate it. What a lovely full room over there at Massy.
Thank you, Justine. I'm inviting Jacqueline.
Okay, hi, can you hear me? Is it good? I'm gonna assume that it's okay. Yes? Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name is Jacqueline. I live in Toronto. And it's kind of weird that I'm the only one out east attending a reading on the West Coast, but I'm not a stranger in Vancouver. And the only reason why I had joined Chasing the Poets workshop was because a friend of mine sent the workshop link to me through Instagram. And so and I like memes a lot, and I'm on Instagram a lot looking at memes. And I came across one today, which is, I think, a really good opener to the 3 poems I'm going to read to you. First of all, happy Pride, and also happy Indigenous Peoples Month. The two go hand in hand, which I think are beautiful. Although I wouldn't, yes. So I'm gonna just start out by reading this meme that says, transitioning is the process in which you give up a lot of safety, opportunities, and simplicity in life. But in return, you have the ability to take pictures of yourself where you actually have life in your eyes. And I often think that for my trans friends and lovers, that is, I can't say I understand some of the struggles they go through because I haven't lived it, but I can say that it's more than what they're fighting for. It's not just to be, they're willing to give up a lot of different things, including a lot of safety, just to be themselves. And I think it's important to highlight this, especially for my own awareness as well. So I'm going to start off with a poem called Transitions. It requires only 3 things to build a great wall. Any great wall. Anyone who has ever had to build a wall knows what they are. Walls are easy to build everywhere, anytime. A misplaced word while you sleep, in the fleeting glance of the back of a hand, in the middle of a kiss. And oh yes, there is a 4th ingredient. A slough of despond, if you will, is absolutely needed for a solid foundation. You can't tear down a good wall that does a damn fine job. Don't even try. Like hydras, they come back stranger than before. More walls, more teeth. No, these proud stoic warriors need whispered assurances. They believe that without them, you won't be safe. See how reluctant they are to leave you. They'll simply hide and become harder to see. You need new stories, new poems to soften their stances, and eventually, some can be persuaded to turn into swirls of sand, always dancing in the light around you. But here's the hardest part. From those walls that hide so deep that you may forget about them until the dark day comes, and those walls determined to keep you safe until the very end, will even take you into them. From those walls, you have to turn away. Go back the way you came even, and it shall be you who needs the new stories, new poems to turn them into myths, memories. And with enough time, those memories will want to be turned into poems too. Thank you. Continuing my little love affair with Instagram and memes. This is for a friend. There is an extraordinary generosity in sending someone a 20-second reel of a beady-eyed chicken exploding 2 feet into the air after being sneakily tagged by a happy dog, only too happy to have an angry chicken charging at her. They go round and round a bale of hay. You can imagine the chuckling that goes on, both ends of the world, one aloud, the other silent, joined by the long descending darkness across a summer day. A peal of laughter ripples, and it is always laughter that defines us. My face pixelate like the black screen, startled like that chook at your glee of having sent me this love song. Thank you. And for my final poem, this one is titled, I Used to Think Flowers Superficial. I used to think flowers superficial, vain, but back then I knew only to write about hurt and pain. Didn't yet taste the sweetness that must come before the honey. How bland were those years. I used to think praying a hollow act, an unholy pact made to trade my spirit and hope for safety. Please let me get through the night. Please let me pass. But back then I hadn't realized prayers meant placing my hands on bark, joining arms with silent trees, singing trees, laughing trees. All the times I stopped and backtracked to catch the light caught in the spider's web. Those moments I've sat and daydreamed with ants, talked to fishes. How naive were those years, spent behind walls that were kissed by the sun and cloud and rain, while flowers and grass grew all over them. All that time birds perched on them, built nests, bugs tickled freely its surfaces, and wantonly unearthed every crevice waiting to be found, while I fixated on betrayal and loss. I'm glad to say these days I live only to be enticed, the way bees find their headiness in the scent of a flower. Thank you. That's my time.
I'm Sadea. I go by she, her. And happy Pride to everyone too. So before I get into it, I don't really want to talk about the writing, but I do want to talk about something that I've struggled with that this workshop is helping me. And I am a raging perfectionist. So Even before I came here, I was worried about the chairs, I was worried about the snacks that I would bring, I was worried about the poetry, and poetry is really great for just trying to get my head out of that. So I have 3 poems, and I'm going to start with the first one. So the first poem is called Safety. One thing I've been pondering lately is safety. How to create a sense of safety in my life. Because that's what we're all searching for, isn't it? By we, I mean you, I mean me, I mean us, I definitely mean us. I mean, we've been searching for something that feels soft and cozy and comfortable, where edges lose their sharpness, erode and fade, where murmurs and whispers take place of cacophonic shrills, and God, I wish that car alarm would stop. I wish for waves and trinkling, rivers trinkling, not the clashing of cheap costume jewelry. God, I want to feel safe. I want to metaphorically spread my toes into sand, to sigh a relief and know I could turn and something would be there. Where's that goddamn beacon of light, the lighthouse, the sunrise in the sky, the final step in that journey, cold tea on a hot afternoon, that final word, finality, the fin, the nada, the zip, the end. I want something to hold me, and I fought for it. Why do I share so much with strangers? I was whirling, looking, landing, boop, trying to create a safe space. Needing to be held so badly and be told that what I said mattered, and embrace that says, here, it's okay. Tell me what you're feeling. Who are you? Not the you who has to stand up and perform and smile. Tell me what you think of before you go to bed. What you hope for, what are your dreams? What I really need is somewhere to feel safe. And my second poem is called Drink. I want a love that feels like breathing, a cup that fills and spills into puddles around me, a glittering amethyst, a dazzling emerald, smooth-faced, cool to touch, slip between my fingers kind of love. I want to sip you into a mouthful of wonder, for you to hush up and press into a moment so present we can hear a tree sigh. Let's create a space between us that feels as wide as an open yard. I yearn for a love that feels like breathing. And my last poem, Summer, which is apt for the weather today. Summer. I want summers of cold, clear creek water, whistling through jelly shoes. Summers of grass stains and berry freezies that stain my tongue blue. Summers of giggles and cardboard jumps through old refrigerator boxes. Of pavements that burn the bottoms of my feet. Oh, to hear the shrill of an ice cream truck skipping through the air like a broken piano. Ice cream with black button bubblegum noses, kisses from buttercups, grass stains and stop signs and hills that are never ending. I invite another poet. One more poet? I didn't.
I'm also quite old when I look around the room. It's so wonderful to see you all here. I've often written about the losses in my life, and so this is a poem really reaching for that feeling because it came quite early. So I lost 2 brothers in their teens, and then my mother died when I was 31, and so I felt like people around me didn't really understand the reality of my life or what I was living with. People my own age had no idea. So this is an attempt to explain how this is an invisible thing, right? People don't realize when they meet you too, when they ask you how many siblings do you have, when they ask you about, family stuff, it's a cringy conversation, right? So this is called tumbling. There are rocks in my pocket, one for each death. The first rocks, my ancestors, whispering thin, easily airborne, skipping over waters of the past. These brought comfort, they became touchstones. But then came the drowning. My brother 16, now a river rock made smooth by loss. Sits next to the others. 4 years later, a bullet. My brother 18, his rock marked by mushrooming metal, leaving a hole in him, in me. Before long, another rock, this one larger as it was mother. Aunties, uncles, grandmothers, grandfathers followed. For so long, I carried the dead. Afraid to let them go, I brought them everywhere. Others could not see the rocks in my pockets. They could not hear the tumbling. They could not hear the tumbling. They did not feel the heat from the rubbing against one another. Every rock heavier than the last, harder to carry. Yet together we all walked, losses rubbing up against one another, pressing on my thighs until falling open, seams stretched, emptying my pockets. Interestingly enough, writing that emptied my pockets. It's sort of something very satisfying about put something in a poem that really encapsulates the feeling. And when it's with grief, sometimes it really helps you let go of that thing. Right? It's like putting it on the page. So this one's a bit rough, but I'll read it to you anyway. I'm still working with it. It's called The Soft Light. My body, once buoyant, until want gnawed on my bones. Its teeth sharp, punctured flesh. I did not mean to sink so deeply into desire. Thought I was in control. I now know that he cannot give me what I need. Seeing this, patterns reveal evidence that linear demands for orderly growth were not my way. I had been born with too many words in my mouth and a desire to speak a new world into being. I was meant to hold space for the unknown, a seeker filled with questions, some pointed, sharp-edged English, others sleep on my tongue, whispering the chief in my dreams. Fluid, rounded words that float in the big sky. My days of being the sun that men circled are done. My body now a moon, a soft light in a dark sky. And I don't mind being soft. I was ready for it. This Capilano Review had a 50th anniversary, and it was so fun because you got a letter. And once you got your letter, I got E, you picked a word, and then you wrote about that word. You could write poetry, you could write prose. I wrote a bit of both. And so I chose the word equity, because that's always on my mind. And so this, I'm thinking of my family also, is a little short essay, which I won't read. My family, some of them are quite well off. And so I've had this experience of the Métis with the half-built house and hot dogs for dinner if you're lucky, and then the other family that had luxury, right? And so I've traversed these two worlds, and I prefer the hot dogs. So this is called The Shell Game. Is equity intentionally ironic? Hiding an inclusive language, bearing the mark of the woke, it wraps itself in the soft wool of sheep, when it's really a Brillo pad, scrubbing shame from institutions that invest in lawyer-laden secrecy, that use do not disclose methods to silence dissent. It's the same tactics used within families, where suppression, camouflaged as love, binds generations together, leaving those seeking equity with their hands out, begging for fairness that never comes, but is posted on websites, filled with the promises of inclusion, while hidden in the fine print of what is never said, but everyone knows some are more deserving than others. Few will admit equity is a game of hide and seek, that those with offshore accounts named philanthropists. You shouldn't put words in your poems if you can't. Oh, sorry. That's so funny. Those with offshore accounts named, say it for me, somebody. Thank you. I can usually say it on you. Crystal wine glasses in hand, gifted with gold watch thank yous, everyone bowing down to their generosity, while the marginalized, the underrepresented, prepare and serve their food, clean their homes, keep their secrets. The one short one to end, I don't like to end on a negative note. So this is something that I envisioned after reading Marie Andre Brown's book, Emergence, I think it was called. I'm having a brain hiccup. Anyway, she talked in there about starlings, and I started thinking about starlings, and they're so magical, right? And thinking about us as humans, and what we can learn from them, and how they move together, the way they move together, the way that they don't need words. They just know what to do, and I think we could do the same. So what we can become. Consider the implications of rising starlings in the sky. We could fly, wordlessly wheeling our way, learning to live on the edge, letting go into the unknown, so that we might become responsive starlings, undulating in unison, sharing an in-breath, folding in to a small ball, and with a shared out-breath, simultaneously expanding, turning with, no one leading, together shape-shifting, pulsating, singular, spectacular murmurations, rising iridescent symbols of what is possible.
Yeah, that's my cousin, Jónína. She forgot to introduce herself, but I guess most people know. So, if you look over here, I wasn't going to read this poem because it's not finished, but I will because it's a bit for the time for the month that we're celebrating. This is my dad that she's talking about in this poem that committed suicide. We forget how much children are impacted and how we carry things that we believe that other people tell us to believe about ourselves. Anyway, try not to get emotional. I'm usually pretty good at that. My name's Rebecca. Grandmother Moon, have you been watching over me like the light of the moon, looking down? I hope you were hiding behind the clouds on the many nights I stumbled home. It's in my blood to love a party. Are you jigging to the tune on your brother's fiddle? In that floating place between your moccasins and the floor? Lift, lift, lift. I thought you would have followed your son sooner up those stairs. No one can see the top of from down here. If that's where he went. You said those were his footprints you heard in the middle of the night, walking across your living room floor. You sat at your window, dressed in black for a year solid. Were you waiting for him to come get you? Or was your enabling guilt so heavy you couldn't go up? Did you find him? If you did, please tell him I miss him. I was hurt and mad for a very, very long time. But I've healed. I understand now. I forgive him for taking his life. He took a piece of my single heart with him. I wish he could have met his grandchildren. My oldest son, tall and lanky, is a lot like him. He knows the struggle. My middle boy shares his goofy, fun sense of humor. My daughter has the voice of an angel too. I hope one day we'll all be together. We will sing and dance. It will be such a party. We all stumble home. So, yeah, I think, you know, what street are we on? We depend on people face. It's usually, you know, from trauma. So that takes a lot of work, a lot of struggle to get to a better place, but it's there for everybody if they want. This was a simple one. I like it because you're to write about found things. So I like when you know, you can make it put something on the glasses. Oh, porch light. A porch light hangs from a rope, bare bulb exposed, filaments naked, at mercy to the home. Does it look through the window down to the crystal chandelier down the hall? Is it envious, resentful? Does it question its call? Or is it content with its own little light, knowing its worth as beacon that guides someone home on a cold, dark night? Okay, this one I actually we were told to write about grief as water, so you kind of know my history. So I just called it grief as water. November rain child, born water sign, buckets full of Wednesday woes. I do not hold back the floodgates when we beckon to break. Waves pushing against barriers of bagged sand that can never promise anything. Water pours from old metal schoolhouse faucets turned on by thirsty ghosts. Liquid pain and loss overflow chalices of unknown existence. Hidden in dormant icicles, remnants of forgotten glaciers, forced to melt, fill wells in my eyes. Divining rod in my hands, drill down through darkness and hardened rock where mercury lies. Found source of fresh spring runoff, living waters deep inside. No longer overcome by riptides and tidal waves, I am the impounding down, channel of my own flowing river. Has the bottomless reservoir finally run dry? Or have I learned to walk on water? That's my favorite. White buffalo fire. If you don't know about the white buffalo calf woman, that I suggest you look it up. It's about her return. It's a prophecy, an Indigenous prophecy. Campfire smell lingers in my tanned hide, in the threads of my woven plaid, up and down, back and forth, many lifetimes across plains. Ignite the kindling lying dormant in the depths of my core, embers still burning, cradled together in her womb, in my womb. Awaken sparks of wisdom, memory, intuition. Come alive, molten lava, erupt in my heart, explode through my mountaintop. Rise in smoke, carrying children's prayers across timelines, uniting mother and father, earth and sky in oneness. Return from spreaded ashes, my white buffalo soul.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Lucy, and I live in North Vancouver. I'm a high school teacher, and very excited to be here because this is actually the first time of me doing a in-person reading, so I'm super excited. And I just really want to thank Massy Arts for this series. It came around a very special time because I will get emotional because during that time I lost my grandmother, and she was my last grandparent, and she was the closest that I was. And then at the same time, my husband and I, we found out that we were expecting. So it was sort of this kind of rebirth cycle that I put into a poem, and the writing process was quite spiritual. And so here it is. I will be reading just the one poem, and it's called In a Sunbeam. Grandmother is dead. Mother tells me she loves me, loved me, because of father, her firstborn son. He had left her to the care of daughters who called last month. He delayed the flight until he missed it. She tried the date. For me, mother brews a cup of herbal tea steeped with bitter melon seeds. I can recite the recipes and repeat a drink dripped into my mouth. Mother tells me she likes white rice porridge, the kind with no nutritional value for a newborn. I wonder about my love for white rice porridge. My favorite thing she made was stir-fried tomato and egg with extra sugar and cinnamon. Mother says sugar is too sweet and cooking too long stacks the vitamin C. Mother is the reason I am wary of mother-in-law. I hadn't seen grandmother in years. Maybe she still sat in the corner of the orange and teal sofa, gathering fabrics to her enormous middle. Later that evening, those scraps of cloth would be stuffed into the bag above the wardrobe,
The one with the knitting needles that had poked a black dot in the white of my right eye. This I don't remember, but she does. She did. She cooked less as I grew. Instead, we walked to the same restaurant to bring home crispy eggplant with garlic and fermented bean. Excuse me. This neat plastic bag. We always put away the dishes wet, water cooling between layers of china. I wonder if there are any dishes left. When we finally left that fall, our last meal was with her. She and I shared a last name, though in the patriarchal scheme of things I inherited from grandfather, who passed it on to father, who passed it on to me, who will not pass it on to anybody, according to mother. Our name describes tree, white-barked, yellow-leaved in the fall. Said out loud, it sounds like sun, the yellow one. The sun inside me, the one who came after she died, will be a yellow one too. Grandmother is in a sunbeam in me. My belly is full of her. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chris Kayla, and actually taking this course started about a year ago in April of 2022 when for April Poetry Month, I decided to read a book called An Honest Woman by Jónína Kirton. And it kind of rocked my world a little bit because I started doing a found poem, which I put online, and Jónína was so nice and commented, and again, rocked my world. I was like, oh my God, poets talking to poets, how awesome is that? So when I saw Massy Arts was putting on this, I had to take it. And Jónína led me to two other amazing poets, Annie Ross and Justene Dion-Glowa Natalie T, who just, again, rocked my world because as a poet, like, it's always been hard to say what I want to say. So I'm always looking to say, I guess, what other people want me to say. So expectation has always been a big thing. And so this class told me to break that. Just write what you gotta write. And so this is 3 poems that came out of me because of these people. And I'm so proud that I actually submitted all 3 of them out in the world. So hopefully they'll be picked up, but no harm if it doesn't. But this is the pieces of my heart. And this one is from Jónína, who gave us the wonderful prompt of keeping a list for a week and looking at the found things and come up with something. And let's see what I got. Rainwater pools in the SkyTrain window, sloshing back and forth. Each time it stops and starts. Hypnotized. I see you in the kitchen, barefoot, texting me. You ask me how my night is going. I type out fine, fine like the penny that drops in a can. When I'm itching to call you, I scratch at my collarbone. I hate phoning, but your voice, a bit like whiskey neat, makes me feel like the amber reddens my cheeks, heating me down to my belly. I want to pour myself out. Outside, the burnt orange slivers through the navy charcoal wash. This sunset is the way I feel about you. And yet, I feel like I'm just drops of rain on my window. In Vancouver, I've had to think up of ways to survive. The book title sits on my tongue, not wanting to dissolve. Am I a Dolly Parton joke? Feeling like I'm walking the edge of my Halloween Snoopy mug. I want to not be the sticker from the BC Okanagan apple left stuck on the back of a SkyTrain seat. And then Abby told us to look at water. And also, like Lucy, I lost my grandmother 10 years ago. And it's a grief that unfortunately hasn't really settled ever. Now I'm gonna get emotional. It's been about 2 months. It's been about 2 months since she passed away for 10 years. And yeah, I guess this is a way of, I don't think you can ever get rid of grief, so I think you can only just let it flow. And so I thought of that as water, how we just kind of let it flow, tears, we let it flow. So this poem is letting my grandma flow. 10 years later, you left me long before your body rested. You were ripped from my smile, my mind recites, my insides wail, like broken, jagged edge ribs. Feel your loss with breath in, loneliness, clinging with breath out. Butterfly wing, white noise, my body still. Mind a little less fractured. Now it's open spaces. Shame velcroed around me. Don't speak. We are roots pulled, limbs cleaved apart, coming together for the harvest in the name of what you were. Light and glass reflected. I imagine you always around me, like rain in Vancouver. My trauma ties to those who are dangling from the tree like apples I want but cannot eat. I wonder if I have the nerve to wish you resurrected when I may not have held your hand enough with your toes dig in the dirt in the backyard garden with the soil we cleanse. I listen to your soul, lost stories. So apparently emotional is what I do with poetry, and so I have one more. So this is one that Justine had got us talking about body washing. And it's a big thing in our culture where the women in the family come for the woman who's passing away, or for the men in the family for the man who's passing away. And I, as a kid, just thought it was a weird concept to have to do this. So I didn't really understand why. And as I got older, and especially with my grandmother, who was the closest person to me, that I got to kind of learn about that. It took me back to India, the first and only time I've ever visited, and getting close to someone and losing them. And so this is a little bit of that. There are some words in here and some stuff that are cultural. Any questions, feel free to rub up to me afterwards, but hopefully I captured everything. And just to let you know, GG just means father's wife's sister. Badi GG's anthem Samsar. I remember watching the funeral pyre burning. In Bollywood films, the intense music played is the typical camera shot. We see the hero's face being licked and devoured. Rage ignites as his loved one is being consumed. We don't really see that last part. I was 9 in India for the first and only time, watching this play out with my mom's Badi Jatiji, standing in a familiar circle, watching. My mom's eldest male cousin holds the flame to the pile of wood. What the movies don't show is that crackle, hiss of flame as it touches decaying skin, crinkling like foil, flesh popping like bubble wrap. Light wind blows the smoke away and into our faces. Sometimes when I have a flashback, I feel that film on my skin. I can't be clean enough to be rid of the smoky scent. More pungent than the aroma of a dupta on a Diwali night that clings to my body, like all the memories I want to waft away, like the Granthi over the Guru Granth Sahib. I won't, maybe can't, speak of the stench of what was once flesh roasting. Reminding myself she has passed, she can no longer feel this. The flames jump higher, expanding, incinerating the pieces still left, signals of smoke sailing through the sky. Next year, I'm diagnosed with an allergy to smoke. The wood lies unlit in the fireplace, incense sticks buried in the miscellaneous drawer. My body always remembers.
Hi, my name is Will Prince. I'm from Nakasley with N, otherwise known as the place where everyone's fly. I'd like to wish everybody happy June, specifically a happy Indigenous Peoples Month and happy Pride Month as well. I think so much of my life I felt like I was too brown for queer spaces and too queer for brown spaces. And so I'm wishing like the most boisterous June to any Indigenous queers in the room, or like I never acknowledge how sacred those identities are 100%. And a big thanks to Massy Arts for listening tonight. Part 1, the destruction and creation. Long before our earthside entrances, when we were nothing but a whisper in the woods. Eons ago, water set the cosmological stage for energy and motion. From deep within those talented troughs, these wandering waves have wrangled the cast. And I am but a glint of light dancing along emotions, an extra emerging from behind the scenes in this ethereal dance between life and death. Transient, merely an illusion of a well thought out spring day. Indistinguishable from the divine, yet unforgettable earthly experience. Not one to be surreptitious, but rather scintillating with these sturdy rays to find sanctity. Part 2, the creation in destruction. I am not responsible for any illusory shadows cast away, or for what ugly truth comes to light. Like a firefly flickering once, twice, and never again, I will self-destruct in a dizzying display of light and leave you like a light leak on a Polaroid, wondering if this memory is a palace or prison. And then to contextualize this poem a little bit, if anyone has any like favorite cutlery, favorite spoons or dishes, my definite favorite spoon. And so we'll see what. I was 11 when you died, after a decade of tasting the root beer floats that now texturize my dreams. Those long, slender silver spoons, a testimony to my genealogical isness. It was always paracosms of play, but your passing wasn't pretend. You lost your life somewhere in those eternal summer afternoons on a day when Mom finally found her old box of vinyls and Neil Diamond wouldn't stop singing about that goddamn hot August grief. Too young to understand why Victim Services was knocking at my front door, asking if we had any connection to my most cherished auntie, Cheryl Marie. As if we weren't already neighbors with the underworld, growing up in grief with white people in crew bringing death to our doors since 1492. But this was 2007, and I was old enough to grasp the invisible dagger drug along my dad's wrists that answered the question to the words I mouthed that had to stretch across this chasm of grief that was threatening to swallow 8th Avenue whole. Oh, Auntie Marie, it's been 16 years of those long, slender silver spoons, born from bone and blood, sharpening themselves somewhere in the soft spaces between vertebrae. Once seeming so massive in memory as my childhood was carried by this curvature, that's now a small yet incredibly painful reminder of how things used to be when Mom didn't cry seeing those spoons, because they were yours and not a will and testament to the presence of grief that has bloomed in your absence. But please just know that even though it really took the amount of time we were both earthside since you haven't been, to open up the box, push the plastic peanuts away, and polish off those long, slender silver spoons, to delve into the darkness that is my mother's freezer, and I will crack open a bottle of root beer as I wait for the ice cream to thaw like this new life after your death. And Auntie Marie, I want you to know that everything is different, but everything is okay.
That feels good. Yeah, okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Natalie T again. I'm so thrilled to be here. Thank you to Massy Arts. Thank you to Justine, to Annie, to my dear mentor, Jónína. First time ever reading, so can someone take a photo of me and send it to me? Because I want to. Thank you. These are all works in progress, as maybe all poems are. And following the themes of the evening, different forms of love letters, I guess, in the shapes of grief. This one's called Hong Kong Homecoming. What brings me back? Monsoon, barbecue pork, back alley of the dim sum restaurant no longer. Grandmother, age as wide as the body of a plane, 15 hours in flight. I'm crossing Aberdeen Harbor, bisecting jade water, polluted with garbage, with oil, with shit, with song, with hope, with love letters and skeleton steel from umbrella insides. All foreign objects are closer than they appear. There is a foreign object in my eye, so I cry. Not all 7-Elevens are born the same. The aircon here is perfect, not blasting so as to cause an upset stomach. I stand in front of automatic sliding doors, my reflection disappearing, reappearing. A convenience store ghost, like this thing. This one's called There's a Goddamn Lineup. Zara, I shouldn't even be here, Zara. There's so many others who need to see you, Zara. How many poems are about you, Zara? Tell me you get to sing like your father, Zara. Tell me you visit everyone the way you visit me, Zara. Are you still dancing, Zara? Zara, when I stand by bodies of water, there you are. When the sun bleeds, when the algae ignites, when I mistake mirage for your reach, I know you are everything now. Sorry, words sound so stupid. You are singing a beautiful goddamn storm with stones, Zara. Carved us hollow with your departure, Zara. Our insides ringing with your echoes, Zara. Don't worry. Don't cry. I am laughing your laugh, Zara. I stand at the back of the line, my arms overflowing with all there are no words for, but how they bloom like flowers. Like flowers, Zara. I breathe them in and I bloom too, in the company of the universe who lost you, Zara. Don't worry, Zara. Don't cry, Zara. We are laughing your laugh. We are laughing your laugh. Last one. This is called Paint. I tried to paint after you died. Is this good? Am I a painter? After your death, I throw it all in. I say yes to the dress. I want to spend so much money. Someone buy me a lottery ticket, since the unfathomable has proven full of fathom. I stay up at night lighting incense by bedside in case you pass through. See how I've reorganized? I paint best when I'm at my lowest. 40 days and 7 years later, someone tell that lottery lady, that millionaire in her ocean of dresses, that she'll still be painting. More loss caught in the bristles of her brushes, colors leaking out of her bucket. Tell her she'll still be painting. Thank you.
Auntie, kitchen phone stares as I walk by, beckoning. Did you call her today? Sometimes yes, sometimes not yet, but always, I will call again anyway. What did you have for lunch? Was it good? This, our ceremony. She cooks for me, but she is so messy, you lament. We had lasagna for lunch. It was delicious. Your joy. Again, I hear your detailed recipe. If you don't have meat, you can add something, Mommy, you say. Oh, I wasn't hungry. Oh, my stomach bothers me. Oh, my back hurts. Oh, Jesus has forgotten me. You say, You say, I don't know what to do with my life, I respond. The time left, I mean, the days that are not promised, my failures. I ask the sky, the garden, the sun, as he never stands still. I wanted to just read you that poem without a context. When someone picks up a book, because this is a workshop, so sorry, I'm still being crazy. They don't get to hear your beautiful context and see your beautiful faces and your lovely eyes and your great tears and your honesty and your vulnerability. That is so much everything of what you do as a poet. And I wrote this for each and every one of you. It's on the passing of my aunt and my sister this last holiday season. And it was the reason why I had the prompts that I did for this workshop. And it was when Raphael, who is a wonderful human being, I love very much, said, you know, have the great invitation to be with each and every one of you. It was to ask myself for the honesty of what's real in my life. The RCMP renaming their anti-Indigenous unit doesn't change the fact that they're violating rights and title. And that's honesty. So we ask each other all the time for honesty and truth. And that's hard, and it's good, and it's tears, and it's sorrow, and it's pain, and it's Pride Month, and it's Indigenous Month, and it's Indigenous Pride every day, and each and every one of you and all of the diversities, perfect, loving human beings. And I have nothing but love and thanks to each of you for your time. Thank you.